guys, what is going on? This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for episode number 16 of my WWF/WWE Summerslam Retro and Review series. We are now on SummerSlam 2003. This SummerSlam took place on August 24th, 2003 at the American West Arena in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, of course, the past two SummerSlams 2001 and 2002, were definitely two of the better SummerSlams I've seen so far. 2000 wasn't too bad. 99, it was decent. 98 was pretty good. SummerSlam 2003, when I looked at reviews of the critics, this was definitely one of the more lower rated SummerSlams, I feel, because people thought the card sucked. And I can see why, because, it had a lot of, mid-card talent such as, John Cena, Shelton Benjamin, Christian, Matt Hardy, Rey Mysterio, and a few others as well. On the card that should have been on there but weren't on the card, so that's what kind of did hurt this show a little bit. I still thought what we got from the undercard in this show for the most part worked. I mean, I should say worked, but it was okay, but it was passable. It wasn't that great, but it wasn't a complete flop for the most part either. But there's definitely people who deserve more opportunities than this. Of course, this show is mainly known for, the rematch from Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle. And there was the Elimination Chamber match, the second one. The first one happened at Survivor Series 2002, which we all know where Shawn Michaels won the WWE the World Heavyweight Championship, whichever title it was that Triple H had at the time, off of Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels won it off of Triple H. I botched big time there. I'm sorry. For the first time since he made his big return after being gone for 4 years with his back injury. So this was the second Elimination Chamber match, and it was okay. It was good, but there was few little things about that. Of course, reason why it's not really one of the better known Elimination Chamber matches. But overall, SummerSlam 2003 was not as good as the past two, but I could say to me it was still a decent to solid show. I thought for the most part, I thought it was a little more than okay. I felt. So let's get right into it. As I said before, it took place on August 24th, 2003 at the American West Arena in Phoenix, Arizona. We started off with a tag team match. It was for the World Tag Titles. La Resistance, Rene Dupree, and Sylvain Grenier versus the Dudley Boys. This match was okay. I mean, it was just, a typical, tag match with some, back and forth action, that, the crowd got right behind, especially, whenever, the Dudleys did their thing. Of course, it had, the cheap finish with, just to put over, a young heel tag team in La Resistance. There was some random cameraman, I think his name was revealed eventually to be Rob Conway, who came out into the crowd. I think what happened was when the referee was pulled out of the match, it was supposed to be a DQ, but for some reason they didn't call it a DQ, so instead they had this random cameraman in the crowd named Rob Conway. I'm not sure where the story went with it from there. Came in and attacked, I think it was Devon Dudley, but from behind when the referee was knocked out, which the referee spot being knocked out didn't feel too necessary for the match. And then, that's how La Resistance retained, and then the cameraman attacked him again afterwards. So again, I wasn't really sure what it was. So this was an okay opener, but not really one of the best tag matches I've definitely seen on SummerSlam or any other match I've seen in WWE. So it was okay. Opener. La Resistance wins by pinfall. We had a backstage segment with one of the guys who was the Intercontinental Champion at the time, keep in mind, Christian, talking to Eric Bischoff, who had a match later on against Shane McMahon. Pretty much just asking if he needed any help. He goes, nope, I got a plan. I got this. I will be fine. That was that segment there. Then we had this match. It was The Undertaker taking on A-Train with Sable in his corner. This is probably the lowest point of the show, I thought, this match between Taker and A-Train. It was just some random, guy that he was trying to push, which A-Train was also, eventually Lord Tensai or Fat Albert, or heck they called him, also, who's more known as Matt Bloom today as a great, trainer or whatnot for WWE. But the story of this was around the time where, Stephanie McMahon was the babyface general manager for SmackDown Live, and Vince, I guess, was not pleased with the job she was doing, so he was going out of his way to make her life miserable. Of course, it's probably around the time where Vince and Stephanie had that I Quit match or whatnot. And of course, Sable was pretty much, Vince's, sex figure. And then I guess for A-Train, doing some Vince's dirty work, he pretty much gave him Sable because, Sable was probably, in my opinion too, I thought one of the hottest women around at the time. can't deny Brock Lesnar, you're a lucky man. Yeah, right. Don't want to get too far there, but um, but yeah. So that's pretty much was the story behind it. The match was meh. Wasn't really anything too great at all. Uh, Kind of like a little bit of a squash match with Taker in some ways. He wins the match in like less than 10 minutes on A Train. Afterwards, though, Sable tries to go in there and to do something about it, but then Taker pretty much hits her with a choke slam, and then Stephanie McMahon returns. She's been gone, which was gone for a few weeks after she was taken out, and then she came in and just pretty much attacked Sable pretty much for doing her father's dirty work pretty much or whatever. So it was whatever. So that was that. Then we had the match with Eric Bischoff and Shane McMahon. It's just more of sort of an angle, pretty much, because Shane got some. Well, before the match started, of course, backstage segment earlier, I talked about the thing with Christian and Bischoff. There was a moment there where Eric Bischoff, I guess um, there was some segment in the bill where Bischoff found Linda McMahon in the hotel room and they teased that he probably hit on her, did something to her in there also. And also, I couldn't quite tell also what was going on with the video package, but apparently also somewhere, Bischoff thought he had to sacrifice himself to Kane, like Kane pinned him for something, that, he was, and for somehow it let them have the match with Shane McMahon, who, was just fighting for, the good portion of his family and against like his father and whatnot as it was like, just that weird thing with the McMahons at the time. They were so weird built around. But anyways, so the match happened. Bischoff and Shane. Again, it wasn't really much of a match. I mean, what we saw was decent. But again, it was more of an angle because eventually, Bischoff had Jonathan Coachman who turned heel and attacked Shane McMahon with a steel chair from behind. And Bischoff, pretty much got on the microphones, being the guy he could make matches and whatnot, said this is going to be a no disqualification and pretty much a false count anywhere match. He was going to make, and had Coachman, just doing his dirty work. For the most part, it was just them, Coachman and Bischoff, on the microphone, just doing their thing. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin came out, who was the commissioner of Raw or whatever his position was at the time, because he was pretty much done. But I think him, Rock, and several other stuff, the Attitude Era, were pretty much done at this time. He comes out and pretty much gets Coachman out of there and has this be like a fair fight. But of course, Bischoff tries to pull his full speed, so Coachman not Coachman, Austin helped out Shane. Eventually, Shane gets the win. Well, first, Austin hit Bischoff with a stunner, but then Shane didn't want to pin him. He wanted to do one last thing, so he put him on the table. He did his flying elbow drop onto the table, and Shane wins by pinfall outside the ring. It's more of an angle, and then of course later on in the show, Bischoff's back, he's all beaten up, and Linda McMahon comes in, and then Bischoff's trying to sweet talk her, and she just slaps him across the face, pretty much for what he did to her and and her family and whatnot. So that was pretty much what it was. I mean, again, it was decent for what it was more of an angle rather than a match. We also had a backstage segment with Triple H, Ric Flair, and Randy Orton. This is Randy Orton's first SummerSlam also. And they're talking about the Elimination Chamber match. Of course, Triple H is stating the fact that, he's leaving with the title. And Orton's, not going to, do that. And Orton's like, well, what if? And there's no what ifs. Triple H is leaving with the title, and that's final, pretty much. Ric Flair is just in Triple H's corner on the outside. So that we had that. Then we have this fatal four-way match. So this is the first United States Championship match to take place at SummerSlam. Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit versus Rhino versus Tajiri. The dynamics were a little unclear. I mean, I know Rhino was a clear heel, but, it seemed like Eddie Guerrero was more so of a tweener at the time because, he was getting a lot more popular to a point where people were, it's kind of like, how it was for Stone Cold Steve Austin, where, people were still cheering for him. Like, they had to make him into a babyface pretty much. Tajiri didn't get much of a reaction. Chris Benoit, of course, this is, right before, he got to his main event run in 2004. Yeah, the match happened, and I thought it was a pretty good fatal four-way. I enjoyed between, three guys, mid-card wrestlers, especially like Benoit and Guerrero, who were becoming more and more popular at this time. Fortunately, we know what happened to both of them, but I liked how the idea of how this being a fatal four-way, and Eddie knows that he's friends with most of these guys. Well, Rhino was one who officially did a heel turn. There was this whole idea of he could lose the championship, by not even taking the pin as well. And my favorite spot, of course, was the one time where I think it was Benoit had someone in the submission, and Guerrero had someone in the submission as well. So like the referee's going back and forth. Whoever taps first, will the person who had the person in the submission would be the winner. And so there was that doubt. He's like, oh, could this happen? Because I'm sure like multiple person matches, I'm not sure weren't quite as popular back then, especially with like a championship on the line. It was like it felt like a bigger deal, especially like a fatal four ways. I don't remember many fatal four ways. Well, we've had a couple around this time, but I feel like it weren't quite as popular back then. But it was still a fast-paced match. Was a bunch of a couple good upstarts definitely. Like again, it's Benoit and Guerrero. Guerrero would eventually get the victory, and again, just go on a popular run. And of course, fortunately, wouldn't have too many SummerSlams left because of how he passed away in 2005. But yeah, I thought it was definitely a fun, fast-paced match. Good first match for the United States Championship, since there really wasn't much prestige. And there really hasn't really been much prestige like for most of the years for the United States Championship, unfortunately. But it was a pretty good match, I thought. Guerrero wins by pinfall. The match of the night, no doubt about it, was this match. Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Basically, their WrestleMania rematch with the roles reversed. Kurt Angle at the time, since, Rock and Austin were pretty much on their way out. Kurt Angle was probably, the next biggest, most popular, main eventer on the roster. Even though he still got the "You Suck" chant, but he was more of a babyface now. And Brock Lesnar eventually, who was the face for their match at WrestleMania, he would turn heel eventually, of course, just doing Vince's dirty work, and for this match, and the match was pretty good action. Again, Brock and Angle worked very well together. Like, it felt good with what we get from Brock Lesnar today when he's around. That is, it felt good to see him actually go back into the days where he actually did give a crap, and he actually put on some pretty good matches. Of course, one spot of the match, of course, Vince McMahon wanted Brock to be the champion, so he came out and when the referee wasn't looking, attacked Angle with a chair from behind, but it did not work out. And then there's a spot towards the end wherever Angle had Brock in the ankle lock, and then Vince is like resisting to causing interference, but he knows he would probably cause a DQ or something if he did. And then like Brock, what I liked about Kurt Angle's ankle lock, and just like the match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. He really had to make Brock work for it, and he got Brock to tap out to the ankle lock for Angle to retain the WWE Championship. After the match, Angle grabbed Vince and him with an Angle slam into the steel chair for, all he had done, pretty much, because Vince was just the biggest heel. And he still is the biggest heel in the company these days because he's very out of touch and tries to, get ROH events canceled in Madison Square Garden. But we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, Angle retains. I thought it was a great match of the night, in my honest opinion. And I had to mention this because it cracked me up because they showed players from the Arizona Diamondbacks at ringside. Of course, the only one I recognized was Luis Gonzalez, and they also mentioned how Luis Gonzalez had got ejected from the game earlier in the day. And I'm like, cracks me up. I'm sure he's not in a good mood right now or something. Unless if he cleared it up, I wonder what it was. But there was that. They showed the winner also the crowd of the Divas Search, Jamie Cobe, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, who was pretty attractive. I'll give her that. This is more of a cool down match in between, the championship match and the main event. But it was a no holds barred match between Rob Van Dam and Kane. Basically, this is around the time where Kane unmasked, and I think RVD was the one who was telling him, he shouldn't be afraid to expose himself or whatever it is in the mask. They were tag team partners, and Kane just went absolutely crazy, pretty much, and it pretty much led to this feud with RVD. It was made to a no-holds-barred match at the last second. It wasn't supposed to be, but then Howard Finkel announced it being a no-holds-barred match before the match started. It probably wasn't really looking at this match on paper. It didn't really sound like anything that was going to be that exciting. But I think they did make RVD and Kane made this match look a little bit more exciting than it could have been, especially bring out more of the hardcore style in RVD because that's just like his bread and butter style. Unfortunately, though, RVD did not win the match as Kane eventually hit a tombstone pile driver on top of the steel steps and put him into the ring to get the victory over him by pinfall. It was still a solid match for what it was. Definitely better than expected, but nothing really too special to write home about. So that was that match. And then finally, we have the main event, the second ever Elimination Chamber match. Triple H with Ric Flair taking on Goldberg, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Randy Orton, and Chris Jericho for the World Heavyweight Championship inside the Elimination Chamber. HBK and Jericho started. Orton entered number 3, and then Nash entered number 4. And he was eliminated in like 2 minutes, which kind of sucked. Showed how bad the WWE booked WCW people. Triple H entered number 5, but Shawn Michaels super kicked him while he was still in his pod, and he pretty much just stayed there for most of the rest of the match. And then Goldberg entered number 6. He took out Orton, HBK, and Jericho pretty quickly within a span of 5 minutes or so. I'd say he looked pretty dominating, despite the fact that Goldberg was limited for sure in the ring back then, which of course is also his only SummerSlam appearance, as he only lasted in WWE for just a year. We don't know how that ended, but we're not going to go there. And then when it came down to Goldberg, Triple H had spent most of the time in his pod, and Ric Flair was holding down the pod shut. Earlier in the match, Goldberg speared Jericho through a pod. This time, Goldberg literally just broke down the pod with his own feet and hands himself to break it open to get Triple H out of there. Of course, Triple H didn't really do much in the match at all. All he did really was, he hit Goldberg with the sledgehammer after Ric Flair snuck it in to pick up the victory to retain his championship. And afterwards, we had Flair and Orton return down to the ring, and they helped handcuff Goldberg to the ropes, and then Triple H beat him down, busted him open as well. This match again overall wasn't bad in my opinion. It wasn't one of the greatest Elimination Chamber matches I've ever seen. Partially because first off, it felt like how it did this past year with Braun Strowman eliminating pretty much everybody, and Roman Reigns just beats him like that. Well, then again, at least Triple H used like a weapon or something like that to beat him, and then look like didn't make Goldberg look completely weak, but Braun looked kind of like mad, like you just eliminate all these guys, then you lose to Roman Reigns with like a spear or two later, But the thing was Triple H apparently at this time was dealing with a groin injury, so that's why he didn't really work that much in this match, which kind of made him kind of look bad a little bit. I felt, even though it was part of this whole gimmick of him, I think he has all this power behind him, and everybody else is doing the work for him, and he's not doing much at all. But it definitely would have been nice to see him do more than just sit in the pod the whole time. Of course, my favorite parts of the match was whenever Goldberg was speared Jericho through the plexiglass, and he broke the plexiglass himself just to get Triple H out of there. I mean, the thing is also it was pretty predictable either Triple H or Goldberg was going to win it, so a lot of fans didn't really care probably as much about the match because it was too predictable. They did have a match eventually in Unforgiven, but we all know Goldberg didn't really last WWE that long. I guess him and Brock left after WrestleMania 2004 after that really awful WrestleMania match, but we're not going to talk about that. But with that being said, that's actually it for this review of SummerSlam 2003. Again, it was probably a show that people definitely hold lower because the undercard is full of a lot of wrestlers that weren't deserving of opportunities as much as other guys like John Cena, Christian, Shelton Benjamin, Matt Hardy, Rey Mysterio, and a few others. But I thought the undercard for the most part, maybe except for the A-Train and Undertaker match, for the most part, everything else still delivered on an okay level. The Elimination Chamber match was all right. Angle and Brock stole the show, and then the United States Championship match that was pretty good also. So I'll give this show a B-, a B- for SummerSlam 2003. What grade would you give SummerSlam 2003? With thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, sure to click my like and subscribe more content on this channel. Follow me on Twitter at DemandAirboy93. With that, guys, I will see you all later. Until then, guys, have a great day. Peace out, everybody.